What is a dead giveaway that someone grew up in an abusive household?
Experience 1. Hyper-aware of their surroundings and able to adapt and/or problem-solve with lightning speed in abnormal chaos, but normal day inconveniences can be a breaking point. Experience 2. Therapist checking in here. A more subtle one is that they are hyper-aware of their surroundings and people's emotions, as that was a tool of safety that tends to not be able to be shut off as they become an adult. Edit. Yes, this can also be true for people who were in an abusive relationship. Experience 3. Apologize for everything that isn't your fault. Take blame for events around you that don't involve you. Do everything you can to minimize the emotional outbursts of others. It's not great. Experience 4. Add being defensive and resentful and passive-aggressive. All the above, and this with a terrible self-image and lack of confidence to boot. Deep down I know that everything that goes wrong is not my fault, but on the observable, superficial level, because I'm terrified of anyone else's anger, I over-apologize, take the blame, and try to fix it. However, because the problem really isn't my fault, I'm very conflicted, and I will also try to defend myself and resent you because I think you're blaming me, whether you are or not. It's made my life a terrible mess, and it is a deeply ingrained response that's very hard to correct. My mother had a personality disorder, never diagnosed, because she refused to seek treatment and would threaten my father with divorce and getting full custody when he tried to get her into some sort of counseling. Being raised by a malignant narcissist will mess you up. Experience 5. They tend to be very independent and have backup plans for their backup plans. It comes from a living environment that was unstable, where they were often left to rely upon themselves to get by. And others have pointed out, this independence can also manifest as a desire to be in control, because you do not want to be subject to the ambiguity and unreliability of others. Experience 6. This is based on my own experience mostly, but easily scared or startled. Hiding food or overeating. Going completely silent when someone yells at you or scolds you. Excessive apologizing for every little thing that goes wrong. Being pretty independent and not asking for help because you don't want to bother anyone. Seeking constant assurance or validation. Either being incredibly affectionate or not affectionate at all. Experience 7. I and a roommate were disagreeing in the kitchen, and I absent-mindedly reached into a cabinet above for a plate to make a sandwich. The roommate flinched as I reached up. So that. Experience 8. They freeze when people start yelling. Weirded out by a family being nice to one another. Upset when you see a happy family dinner in shows or movies. Edit. Thanks for the award. Yes, I was giving personal experiences. Yes, I'm fine, but I still have those above. Experience 9. I want to vent. I used to freeze when people were yelling or fighting up until around 4th grade. I had reached out to teachers and the school officer and brought up what was going on at home, which they concluded that there was no way a family acts like that and that I must be making up stories. So, I dropped it and lived with it. When I'd see friends' parents and they were acting all loving and nice, to me it felt super fake and scripted. It was very uncomfortable, like being on a set of a movie when I'm a terrible actor. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? At what point do I need to go to another room so your parents can duke it out? And when they didn't, I'm like,
Don't change your routine on my behalf.
I wasn't allowed to have friends over my house, so it wasn't like someone could say,
Your parents are messed up.
And when I got older, I was not going to invite friends over, mostly because I knew I'd probably have to wake them up in the middle of the night with my routine. My father had tried to kill us a few times, leaving a car running in the garage when he went to work at 2 a.m. or leaving the heat off and opening all the windows and doors in the house in the dead of a winter with below zero temps. I legit did not realize how messed up that was until I was like 16, and my girlfriend witnessed it. I would just wake up in the middle of the night and make sure doors were closed, the heat was on, the car wasn't running. Now I'm trying to keep a line of communication open with my parents for the sake of the rest of my family. Most people still wouldn't believe me, but occasionally my mom would say something to unlock and confirm an old memory, like,
Remember when your dad killed your dog in front of you?
she thinks doing that is funny. I'm like,
Can you put that in writing?
experience 10. Continually apologizing for stuff that isn't their fault. Remains completely calm in the face of very angry, even violent people. Extremely self-reliant, never asks for help with anything. People-pleasing, doing things for others, not saying no, maybe a social chameleon who changes who they are or what parts of themselves they present depending on the crowd they're with. Emotional dysregulation, loses their crap over minor stuff, paradoxically can remain calm in a major, life-threatening crisis. Experience 11. This is anecdotal, true for me, but I have no idea if it applies to others. I love being alone. I'm not an introvert. When I am around other people, I'm very outgoing. But given the choice, I greatly prefer being alone. I'm safe when I'm alone. Experience 12. Being hypersensitive, as in tune with your emotions and everything else people have mentioned so far. I know exactly how my partners have felt even if they did want not to admit that to me or talk about it even. Later, when we did talk about it, they would be incredulous or annoyed about how I knew what was in their heads. I just told them when you spent your first 18 years constantly gauging your mother's emotions to see if it was safe for you, that sense is just always on. Experience 13. They don't cry about much. Take emotional ownership of others, even when there's no need. Example: telling your boss you can't be somewhere. You assume their anger or disappointment. You know people's emotions in an instant. You plan everything to avoid errors. And are anxious anyway. ETA, not sharing hobbies or you're doing something that isn't work or housework. I'm not afraid to garden, but playing a video game while anyone is at home makes me nervous. Both are equally fun for me, but one is work and the other is play. Experience 14. Having a startled response when someone reaches out to touch you, even just on the shoulder. Having lifelong issues dealing with authority. Having lifelong anger issues due to having to suppress feelings because of fear of punishment for actually expressing said feelings. Having a long list of things not to do as a parent. In spite of one's best efforts, inflicting some of those behaviors on one's children anyway. Lifelong issues with being socially inept. Yes, there's been therapy. PTSD in saying the word no in any context due to being beaten as a child for using that word. And so on. Seeing all your responses has validated my feelings and helped me to realize I'm not alone in this. Thank you. Love and light to all of us. Experience 15. Overly defensive or reclusive personality, inability to set healthy boundaries, excessive giving or hoarding/scarcity mindset, poor time management and procrastination problems, lack of ambition, direction, or drive, inability to see a future for themselves but can easily help others achieve goals, unhealthy friendships/relationship patterns, disrupted sleep and eating habits, general anxiety and nervousness, gut and digestive issues, social anxiety or isolation, oversharing or inability to communicate/process feelings. Requires alone time in order to recharge fully/can't be comfortable around people when vulnerable. Experience 16. They repeat the pattern. My boyfriend grew up with emotionally absent parents. As a teen, he took to smashing random girls, looking for something, a connection, and now he has a lot of trouble expressing his feelings or showing affection. I've never seen him cry. Not even a little. Also, he can talk about anything sexual without batting an eye. Yet, somehow, he's shy when discussing our relationship/anything emotional. The only thing that will make this guy blush is when he has to talk about us or, God forbid, his feelings. It's crazy how uncomfortable it makes him. Experience 17. Usually, their relationship as an adult with their parents is a dead giveaway. If they have an extremely polarized negative opinion that they will not let go of and will not budge on, there is a deep-seated reason for that opinion. To add to that, everyone who says anything along the lines of "you should talk to your mom, she's the only one you have" needs to stop. Experience 18. 1. Unnecessary lies, this for protection. 2. Never asking for help, rather spend months doing it alone than days with help. 3. Make yourself small to minimize the chances of being hurt. 4. Flinching at loud/sudden noises. 5. Minimizing your successes and zeroing in on your mistakes/losses. If you expound on them a lot, there is nothing nobody can say or do to you to make it worse than you already have. 6. If they are fresh out of the box, have very low self-esteem. 7. Don't know how to say no. No was taken as them being rude. 8. Being overly sensitive about other people's boundaries but their own. 9. Not being able to stand up for themselves in any situation. 10. So many triggers, too much anxiety, so many nightmares, so much depression, but they can't show it. This invites more ridicule and scorn. Experience 19. There was a guy in high school who wasn't so much a bully but rather always ready to be mean and angry with anyone and everyone. People didn't pick on him at school, and he didn't necessarily go out of his way to pick on others, but if there was any sort of ordeal that could be escalated, he would escalate it. Anyways, we both ended up in ISS and school suspension one day for reasons unrelated to each other, and when I walked into the ISS room, he was already in a seat sulking. I said,
Back in the slammer again.
jokingly referring to myself, and he instantly tore into me. Paraphrasing, he said, "Yeah, well, I'm not really in here a lot, so stop and mind your own business. If it wasn't for everyone screwing with me all the time, I'd be doing good in school." I bit my tongue for a while and sat there in disbelief before I just told him,
Dude, I'm not trying to start anything with you or make you mad. I was talking about myself. Just chill.
He said.
Yeah, right. You and everyone else love to push me and force me to stand up for myself and then act like it's no big deal.
For whatever reason, that made me feel really sad. Not because it was true by any means, but because he really thought he had to defend himself all the time for everyone. The next day, I came in and sat in front of him and said, "Bro, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I have done something that makes you think I don't like you. Because that's not the case. Do you think it's possible that maybe not everyone is trying to make you angry and get you in trouble? I've really thought about it, man, and I can't remember anything that you have done that would make people dislike you other than the fact that you treat everyone like they are out to get you. So, I'm just letting you know now that you are my bro. And I'm going to treat you like me, bro, and I don't give a freak if you treat me like we're friends. It's not going to stop me from being a friend to you. Nothing I say or do to you will ever be meant to piss you off, so if it does, tell me and I'll either apologize or explain myself better, dude. I don't know what's happened to you that makes you think you have to be ready to fight everyone, but that's a miserable way to live, man. It's got to suck." After that, he never jumped on my case for anything. And over the school year, he became one of my best friends. He started getting along with more people, but there were still a few times he got in trouble. I found out years later from him that his stepmother was very abusive to him. She would lie to his dad and tell him that he threatened her, and then his dad would be mean to him. That's how he lived growing up his whole life, having to be on guard from the people who were supposed to protect him. So, I guess if any of you know people like that, sometimes they might need you to let them know that at least with you, they don't have to be pre-angry. If that makes any sense.
We hope you enjoyed listening to today's stories. If you want to see more stories, check out these videos or check the links in the description for more videos. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And ring that notification bell.